and I'm getting mighty tired of your trifling ways and of listening to that jackass Bray.
The enabler, drama bonds. Emotionally unpredictable individuals often remain wounded on purpose. A voluntary rut, if you will. The phenomenon of wounded bird syndrome. Essentially, it involves two people or groups of people willingly staying broken so that they can feel needed by each other. A cesspool of strife, projecting needs from others in areas where oneself may take control and become greater than their former self. A self inflicted catch 22, essentially. And speaking of needs, there's an essential requirement to look beyond the surface to understand the addiction to being needed or saved, all of which requires, of course, enablers. I can recall being an enabler, not by choice, but out of ignorance. This ignorance could easily have been addressed through in depth conversations with my dad. Then again, how could he teach something that he hadn't learned? I learned the hard way, or as some say, I f***ed around and found out. The difference between my experience and that of others is my ability to learn quickly from the pain endured and from observing the experiences of others to avoid unnecessary suffering in the future. In other words, I refuse to participate in any sort of enabling, and this includes for oneself, and will take all measures to avoid the various traps of self misery and those of society. It is not an easy process, but every man must be aware of it for a healthier development. I do have a note though. Once you learn these pertinent lessons, be prepared to be shunned by the majority of those in society, including females cosplaying as women, who may not understand what a woman truly is or does. This pertains to males as well. No one is exempt from enabler behavior, at least until the awareness of it all kicks in. Most people are not ready to improve themselves or even take action towards being better, as it requires honest work on self, therefore enabling oneself to remain stuck and at the behest of others. Consider the misuse of programs such as EBT and Section 8 by bums. Those who take advantage of a system designed to provide temporary help to the elderly and mentally ill, to name a few, and those with the mindset of doing nothing and entitlement. Doing nothing after receiving the assistance to build a better life, some individuals choose to remain idle while seeking more and more help, while flaunting a toxic sense of pride, expressing furthered and willing ignorance online to boast to those funding their lifestyle, showing off how cushy their lives are, a reflection of low-hanging fruit. Also to mention those who allow or enable such mockery of good faith funding and social programs. As this discussion concludes, I encourage all viewers and those who feel offended to distance themselves from anyone fitting the molds discussed here. This includes those who are perpetually caught in pity parties and the crab in a barrel syndrome. This includes entitled dunces. Otherwise, you cannot complain about your lack of fulfillment or the quality of your life when you are leaving it to chance your happiness and others, while stating that they're grown. And that's the reality. Yeah.